Welcome to the Thornton Business Hour, the Washington Metro Business Resource Program. Stay tuned to hear about business programs, incentives, and much, much more with your host, Pat Thornton.
You know, we always begin the Thornton Business Hour by thanking you, the listening audience, for tuning in. We know you have many, many things that you could be doing, yet you've chosen to be with us, and we certainly thank you for doing so and want to let you know that you are appreciated. Well, we have a special guest in the studio this morning. You know, she's been with us once before, but you might not remember, so we'll give her an opportunity to tell you all about herself. But her name is Changamiré. And we're going to be talking about her new release, Seeking Billy, the unusual tribute to Billie Holiday. Just released on April 7th, Billy's 110th birthday. Welcome, Changamiré.
Thank you so much for having me again, Pat. I'm actually Changamiré, but everyone calls me Changa, and it's a pleasure to be here to talk about this project.
And you know, Albertina's with us today, and we have to give Albertina an opportunity to say good morning as well. Albertina.
Good morning to our listening audience. Feel free to call in. We look forward to hearing from you this morning.
Well, we are certainly thrilled, and we're looking forward to having this interview to talk about not only Seeking Billy, but we're going to take you back and give you an opportunity to learn about Changamiré. Is that good?
That's perfect.
Okay. All right. Well, Changamiré, tell us a little bit about your background. Not only your background in music, but tell us a little bit about your beginnings and what drove you to make music a center part of your whole existence.
So I'm from Washington, D.C. My grandmother raised me in the Petworth neighborhood with her daughters lived there, my aunts, and one of them was a flight attendant. They called themselves airline stewardesses back then. And when she would go out on a flight, I would go through her album collection, her vinyl album collection, and it was all jazz music, and that was my introduction to it. It introduced me to all of the singers, Billie Holiday, Dinah Washington, Sarah Vaughan, Nina Simone, Dakota State, and that was my jazz beginning. But as a kid or youth, I hung out with the girls on the block playing, and we listened to funk, Parliament Funkadelic and the Barcades, and you know, so that was really what I was into. It wasn't until many years later when I went to live with my mom and my siblings that one of my brothers heard me sing. I don't know how. I can't imagine how, if I was singing around the house or and he thought I should meet their childhood friend who grew up across the street from them. And he, at that time, was the pianist for Gil Scott-Heron. And so this man had me come to his studio. He was living in Silver Spring.
What was his name?
Glenn Turner.
Oh, Glenn Turner.
Okay. Glenn Turner. And he had me come to his studio in Silver Spring. I caught the bus there, and he was a taskmaster. Yes, he recorded everything I sung. As soon as I sung, he put me in front of a mic. I just told Albertina that this is my life. Headphones and a microphone. That was my musical start. Not performing, but recording. And he heard me sing and thought I was mimicking Billie Holiday, because that was the music I gravitated towards in my aunt's collection. I connected to it for some reason. thought I was a happy kid. I entertained myself. I did grow up like an only kid in my grandma's house, but that music I related to it and loved it. And he thought I was imitating her, and so he wouldn't let me sing her songs. He shared his original compositions and had me sing those, recording everything. And that was sort of the beginning. And it was maybe a couple of years later that I started going to jam sessions and trying it. Not very well, I must say, because I didn't have any, I guess, musical theory training. And so that was some experiences, some life lessons there. But yeah, that was the beginning.
Well, I see that you have given us some information about your trajectory into the music industry. Now, I would like to, and you've given us a little bit of information about who and what have been your musical influences. Did you want to share anything else about your influences? And then I'd like to talk with you about Sonic Records.
Well, when I was confident with singing God Bless the Child at a jam session, I knew I had arrived when a musician came up out of the audience to play the solo. You know, I was up there with just a trio. It was the old Twins Lounge when it was on 14th and Longfellow.
Mm-hmm.
And he came up and he played a beautiful trombone solo. I was like, yes, I'm a jazz singer, you know. And then afterwards, he came to my table. I was with my boyfriend, and he had a cassette tape of a song he had written and said, you know, you give that a listen. My number's there if that's something you'd like to sing or record. And we became friends. And in terms of one of my biggest influences, mentors, admirers, I'm in admiration of his talent, his approach. His name is Lincoln Ross. And when we got acquainted and I went to his home and he shared more of his compositions with me, there was a drawer full of these incredible songs in a drawer. I thought it was an abomination. And so I would say 9 of the 10 of the songs on my first album are from that drawer. Only Human being the title track of that first album. And it was well received. It brought much opportunity for me. I assembled an ensemble, and I married him.
Oh, you married him.
Yes, I did.
I guess you were able to delve into that drawer a little bit further.
And I continue to.
She got all the way to the back of the drawer.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So yeah, he would be an influence, someone, a mentor. He would be, and then as we were just friends and becoming acquainted, I got to learn who his mentors were, and I'd be around them. Lawrence Wheatley of the famous One Step Down jazz club, who would lead those jam sessions. I got to know Lawrence Wheatley by, hanging with this man. And so his mentors became people I admired and wanted to learn from or be around. Just keeping it local and tangible, I would say him. And of course, just the great musicians that he's exposed me to. I realized, and I'll say this quickly, that album collection of my aunts, I'm only learning recently that it was all vocal jazz. There was no instrumental jazz in that collection, and that's what Lincoln sort of introduced me to, more of instrumental jazz. So I know, Coltrane would be my favorite jazz instrumentalist, John Coltrane. And so he introduced me to Coltrane, and he would be, and J.J. Johnson, trombonist, just those bebop era guys. So, yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. You've talked to us about your wonderful husband and his movement with you into the world of music for you and he. And so how would you describe yourself as a musical personality?
I'm gonna just say it, a bit rebellious.
Good.
A bit rebellious.
We need that.
Rebellious. I did take the path because of Lincoln's influence. And let me just say back to him, he was the only musician I knew in the DC jazz scene who was talking about songwriting and publishing and copyright. Everyone else was talking about or just proving how well they played. But he was more the business side. And that was intriguing too. And so I did take the path of the recording artist versus the performing artist. And that can be to my detriment sometime. But with this album especially, I didn't care. I didn't care. Maybe the first two albums I was wondering why I couldn't get indoors because, and now I know, I wasn't on the scene doing jam sessions, doing gigs. I was recording. That's the path I chose. So I would say I am as an artist, I am rebellious, making my own path in a mission to change hearts, move hearts. Yeah.
Now, you know, today there's an emphasis on owning your own music. I was watching a special on the history of black television, and Oprah talking about what it meant to own her show, how she had to go without pay, how her producer said, if you want to own it, you have to take a risk. The risk is that you don't function off a pay anymore. You function on how successful you are. You'll get paid by the success of what you're doing. She said, I'm going to bet on myself. And I see that Albertina mentioned you have your own recording company. So can you tell us a little bit about the transition from recording to making sure that you had your own company and what that means to you?
It means the world to me, just like home ownership. That's, that somewhere that came into, my sphere, this idea of home ownership. And again, here's Lincoln, talking about copyrights and royalties. One thing he said was about Lionel Richie, that all Lionel Richie had to do was go to his mailbox to get, and I like the idea.
Go to the mailbox to get out that check.
Yes. And so that's what it meant to me, this idea of now I've made these two albums at that point. Oh, the first album at that point, and I knew going forward I needed I create Sonic Records is actually an LLC. I founded that, I think, 2007, and so that the future recordings would be protected.
And for those who don't know, that's limited liability.
That's right. Mm-hmm. Yes, and
Limited Liability Corporation.
Correct.
Okay, let me put the C on there. Trying to explain and leaving out the one I wasn't sure of.
Yes, definitely the C. And I thought also I could introduce other artists through that label. It's really like a record label. And so I did a little of that. But more recently, it's just been my recordings. And not that there's been a lot. That's, again, another part of the rebelliousness. And it's not even that. It's just I'm taking my time. I'm doing it as life allows. And if that's not an album every 2 years, it's 3 albums over the course of 20 years. That's what I've done. As well as a couple of other artist projects.
Okay. All right. Now, I know that you have not only recorded in the States, but you have been abroad. Tell us a little bit about your experiences as a jazz musician abroad.
Wow, oh man, it takes me back to 2004, my first trip abroad. As a member of an organization called the African and American Women's Association. And they had a woman from the Republic of Georgia as their guest for one of our monthly meetings. And we met during that meeting, and she told me about their annual festival, the GIFT Festival, the Georgian International Festival of the Arts, and invited me to perform there. I subsequently received a grant from the D.C. Commission on the Arts, and I used it to go to Georgia with my pianist, and got experienced. You would have thought I was Diana Ross. I couldn't believe how we were treated. We had a car at our, a driver at our disposal the whole time. It was unbelievable. They gave a special second performance for VIPs, so it was dignitaries from embassies there in a beautiful hotel, and it was a press conference. I mean, a press conference in an art gallery where press is lined around like you see, for big artists. Yes, it was astounding. It was astounding. A fan or an audience member, a young man, crying in tears. Oh, please, Changamiré, I love you. I know, it was just me and my pianist. Clifton Brockington is his name. And by the way, this group, Ray Ensemble, we've been together since 2007, and still that's who accompanies me. And and Clifton gave a little impromptu piano lesson right there. It was just fantastic. Other than that, I'm a member of the Rotary Club of Washington, D.C., and Rotary International has an annual convention, and I went to the one in Hamburg and got the opportunity to perform at that convention, and that was lovely. And, when you mix music with humanitarianism, it's just spectacular. So those would be my experiences to date. Japan is what I have my eyes on. I'd love to get there.
Then I guess we affirm that you will go.
Yes.
and we're going to affirm it right now.
And look for those to grab your music and replicate it if at all possible, because they are great at doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So when we talk about Georgia, we're not talking about the state, folks. We're talking about the country.
And I have to say, but Clifton and I, while we were there, Ray Charles died.
Oh, my goodness.
And we wanted so badly to do Georgia on My Mind, and we did not know it and couldn't pull it together because of all that was going on. But when I returned to home, we partnered with the Embassy of Georgia and had a concert and reception and an exhibition of, just to bring culture, Georgian culture here to Washington from me, a Black woman who had just traveled there. And we performed Georgia on My Mind. That's how we ended the concert that night.
That is so awesome. In fact, you're talking about her travel to Georgia. You're talking about bringing Georgia home.
Yeah.
You're talking about making sure that there's a sharing of culture and everything. And it brings to light one of the events that I actually attended, where you were bringing radio into light. You had a partner. We went to a hotel and you had a live broadcast.
Yes.
It was just so phenomenal. I mean, it's a little podcast kind of thing where you're all playing music and you got all these listeners and stuff coming to see. When I was starting, Shit, where is she going? I can see her eyes. Where is she going? Albertina's looking at me. Where is she going? Click.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, because that also is a part of your expansion. You talk about yourself in the sense of being radical. I don't see it as being radical. I see it as being authentic.
Mm.
You know, I see that you chose a path, recording and honing the craft, making sure that you're in your lane, the lane that God prescribed for you. And so I see you as being very authentic. And I experienced that little radio situation with you. And I want you to tell our listening audience about that and what it meant to you and why you did it.
Well, first of all, thank you so much for that assessment of my path. Really warms me. It's touching. It's moving. So when I started out as a singer, it was part-time. I had a full-time, well-paying job. And so I was sort of just dabbling into music. And so still with that same quintet, I could see what their lives were like as full-time musicians, especially Lincoln, my husband, coming home after a gig and just the complaints and the lack of respect and not the equity at all, no thoughts about it. And so I created this show called, it happened organically, called The New Jazz Listener. And The New Jazz Listener has a mission to introduce jazz to people who are curious about it, or who thinks jazz is boring or too serious. That's our mission. But our vision has the advocacy piece to it. And that is, if we can create new jazz fans, that can mean more people in seats at jazz concerts, specifically performances of local jazz presenters, restaurants, even clubs, small presenters. What I've seen is that not many people come to see this music performed live. And our thinking is you just need to tell more people and get more people to love this music. Mm-hmm. And so the New Jazz Listener was founded in December 2020, meeting every Sunday ever since. We are getting ready to celebrate 5 years of doing this show.
You're still doing it?
Yes, we're still doing it, again, with this mission of introducing jazz to new people. And we've had some astounding special guests. It's just, we get blown away when they say yes. But Maestro Ron Carter, T.S. Monk, Gina Belafonte, the daughter of Harry Belafonte, Tulani Bridgewater, the daughter and manager of Dee Dee Bridgewater. It just, the list is, it's incredible who comes on. From that end to the person who, just started coming to our show for, maybe 3 or 4 months. We've made them a guest as well. Again, the idea is just to let you hear these jazz records. Each week features a special guest who brings 3 jazz records that mean something to them, something personal, that we don't want to know about who played on it, what the date was, and the history. Just, do you like this record or not? That's how we think we can win over new jazz fans. And so, the New Jazz Listener. And what you attended was our first hybrid. And I'll say the New Jazz Listener is broadcasted from the app called Clubhouse. And what you and Albertina attended was the hybrid version of it. The only time we've done that, but we can't wait to do it again. We call it NJL Live. And that's where we are with a live audience, as well as still tapping into our new jazz listener community on Clubhouse, which is over 13,000 members on the app.
13,000 members.
On the app, yeah.
That's wonderful.
Wow.
Yeah. So the new jazz listener, it's our little jazz advocacy piece.
That is just awesome. We listened to a jazz announcer, DJ. What's her name?
Sapphire?
Yeah, DJ Sapphire.
Mm.
She started DJing on YouTube. And the next thing I know, when she does a little shout out, she says, hello over in London. How about Brazil? So and so and so. I know when we were on your
Jazz
show,
Listener.
when we were with the new jazz listener, you all were talking to people from all over the world,
That's
not the
right.
country, the world.
Yes.
Would tune in to this new jazz listener. And next thing I know, in fact, she was just recently at the Jazz Festival in Hampton.
Hampton, yeah, in Richmond.
Yes. She's been doing special appearances all over the country now. You know,
And all
DJ
over the
Sapphire.
world, because she goes to London often.
Yes.
She goes to Brazil. She goes to Ecuador.
I think so.
She
you
has
know,
people speaking to her from Germany and Paris.
so it's really something, this medium that we have that allows you to reach so many people. And I have to confess, I need to get back to the new jazz listener.
Yes,
Because I
you
wasn't
do.
even aware that it was still going on. And it's a way, I used to get a CD, Jazzy's magazine.
Yes, every issue came.
Every
with,
issue
yes.
came with a CD. I don't know, it probably comes with a link these days.
That's right.
A link to some music. And I put the CD in the magazine. But I used to love to be introduced to so many different artists. I just saw on Facebook yesterday Nina Freelon saying that she was going to be at the Montreux Jazz Festival. And I
Oh,
was
that's in
introduced to
Switzerland.
Nina Freelon through Jazzy's magazine.
Wow.
You know, you never ever know. So tell people how to get to the new jazz listener.
Thank
That's right.
you. I was going to say you can join us live every Sunday at 4:00 p.m. Eastern Time on the Clubhouse app. But as of March 2025, it is now a podcast. So you can hear episodes from our live show wherever you get your podcast. Just search for the new jazz listener.
How about that?
Podcast.
How
See?
about that? Well, that is a segue into my question about getting the youth involved in jazz. And because you are doing the podcast, then of course this is definitely 21st century. Young people are not listening to radio as much as they are to the streaming devices now. So this is one way to get the word out and introduce them to the greats, because the music that they are listening to today, their hip-hop and their rap, has its place, but it had its beginnings way back with jazz and bebop, long before they had their rap and their trap music, etc. So we have the beginnings of their music, and it'll be good for them to understand how that all occurred as to why they are here with their music and give honor to jazz. And my next question is, why is it that jazz has been identified as America's music?
And after that question, we're going to talk a little bit more about Seek and Bing. But
Oh,
let's
okay,
let's
right,
talk
I'm
about
sorry.
that. Go ahead. Why is it?
Okay. Ooh. Well, we're getting into jazz history, right? There are, I wouldn't say conflicting stories, but it's sort of where did it come from first? And New Orleans is what I hear the most as where it was founded. And I think when I think of jazz's early beginnings, I think of Jelly Roll Morton. Jelly Roll Morton. And I think Lincoln said that he discovered jazz. I think he was just this personality, confident, personality. And but I do just think of, when I do think of those years, the 20s, the teens, I think of Louis Armstrong as just this young kid, just extraordinarily sticking out among everyone for whatever reason, talent and personality, kindness. So why is it considered American? I think when we look at rock and roll and pop music, what I have heard or has come across my sphere is that it's come from the UK and Europe. It's influence there, but jazz started here. Now there's this thought, and it is true, that hip hop also is founded in America. However, it is fused with those rhythms, I think, that are more commercially centered, whereas jazz is just about improvisation, connection. That you don't hear that so much in pop music. It's not about blending, except maybe background vocals and some of the music, but the rapper isn't really having an improvisational exchange. They do have these rap battles and things, but that's not a recording that's being sold. So that would be sort of what I know about why jazz is considered
There's more of a
American.
connection with jazz. Is that where we are?
I would say, well, definitely. And I don't know. I think it depends on the listener. If the listener is experiencing what that rapper is talking about, then that's a stronger connection than me singing about Billy. That I remember going into a place where I've been curating this listening series for the new album, and I approached a venue, and there was a customer there, and the manager said, "Hey, we're getting ready to have this Billie Holiday listening session here. Robert was a customer at the bar, and he said, Billie Holiday, like who is that? And I thought, oh, maybe I'm in the wrong place, And so it's, and that's okay, because if I say Billie Holiday to you and to your listeners, that's a connection there that needs no explanation.
Correct.
But I have a friend, actually a couple, Jewel and Greg Thomas, and they have the Jazz Leadership Project. And what they actually do is take jazz and the improvisational component of jazz to teach leadership. It's a leadership jazz project. So they actually take musicians on the road with them to teach about the elements of jazz, the components of jazz, and the ethos of jazz, when you're talking about the origination of jazz and the improvisation and the relationship to the individual who's experiencing it. It's an experiential space, for lack of better terminology. So tell us about the whole connection that occurs between the musicians as they collaborate, because you were talking about pop and you were talking about the rappers and everything like that. It's ... With jazz, there's a component of jazz where you have to kind of listen to the spirit of the other person, that improvisational that has no line music. Tell us a little bit about that, because I think at that experiential level, at that improvisational level, that's where you get to the connectivity and to the essence of jazz.
Okay, so in my experience, there is always a line. There's always an outline.
Yeah, there's an outline. I
of
understand
what's,
that.
of what's to be performed or recorded. Sheet music, a chart, music chart.
Let me clarify. What I'm talking about is the jam sessions when they're just going. I'm not talking about the framework and everything. I'm talking about the jam sessions where they start here. They have a bit of a framework. It's kind of like Robin Williams, I would suspect.
I understand.
When he was in a show, he had to have the ability to go off script and just go live. And I think with some jam sessions, you have a component where you're just allowing people to just kind of go with the flow.
And so, okay, yes, and that is where I was going.
Okay.
My experience, as I said earlier, is not so much on the performing side, but what I would like to share is that in my ensemble, and again, there's me and my quintet, 6 of us, I am the rookie by years, by many years. I'm the rookie on the team. And so watching them act the way you just described is just, it's inspirational. I get jealous. I want to be better. That's what happens to me in our rehearsal, watching them just do that. Have that unspoken communication through instrumentation, However, in a rehearsal, and it has happened on stage, I'm not the biggest improvisationalist as of now.
Understood.
But when that thing happens from nowhere, it feels spiritual. It's where did that come from? That's how it happens with me. And I can look at one of the guys and they'll see it just hit her.
Go on.
She just felt it. She got one, It's magical, and that is what the other genres in recording, I would say, because I think performing that happens no matter what the genre is, because you have live musicians and they are playing off of, what the drummer just did. Let me try this, it's magical. And that's why you want to go see a live concert.
Exactly. Exactly. There's nothing that can beat a live concert.
That's right.
And so I'm looking at Seeking Billy, the unusual tribute to Billie Holiday. I see it's April, Gardenia, God Bless the Child, coming soon. Why? I Cover the Waterfront. Theme, Them Their Eyes. I remember that song. Heart and Heart, live at Blues Alley. So tell us a little bit about your selection of tracks for this particular album and a little bit about the history. Let me go back, because I stopped with Heart and Heart, and there's Where's the Sun? He Ain't Got Rhythm. Calico Dress, Sophisticated Lady, Do Nothing Till You Hear From Me. Tell us a little bit about that.
Ooh, those. 13 glorious tracks. An album has been 10 years in the making. It was set to release in 2015, Billie's 100th birthday. And that just didn't happen. I had a few recordings up to that point, but I had not completed the album. And I'm so glad I didn't. That album would have been I haven't heard every Billie Holiday tribute album out there, and there are a lot of them. But this would have been similar. which would have been an album of recordings of songs Billie Holiday recorded. But at 2015, around 2016, I started to change what I wanted this album to be. So half of it is songs that Billie recorded, and the other half is made up of original compositions that I guess mostly I wrote, or that other people have written or composed, and I just added some lyrics somewhere in their composition or to their composition. So that's why it's sort of called the unusual tribute. It looks at that second half of originals, looks at what Billie was to me personally, the type of woman I thought she was, and then I go so far as to project the type of woman she might be today. So I knew this was all risky. Again, going back to, what you said, my authentic self, not my rebellious self. And so the originals, It's April, Come Soon, Why, Homage to I Cover the Waterfront, Hardened Heart, Where's the Sun, Calico Dress. Those are those originals that speak to my exploration of Billie. Calico Dress, for example, is a tribute to her style. You know, it talks about, should I wear the black dress or the red dress or the blue dress? That's Calico Dress. Come Soon, you know, what I saw about Billie in movies and in books is how men treated her. And so Come Soon turns the tables, as one person has said, where she has her choice of men, and it may not be you, so go away, you, I'm waiting on you. That's what Come Soon is about. Gardenia, Lincoln, my husband wrote that song, and it's autobiographical. It talks about Billie from, young to her playing with Lester Young and the choruses, and she wore gardenias in her hair, so that's what that song does. And then there's one more I'll talk about that's an original, Why, Homage to I Cover the Waterfront. I Cover the Waterfront was one of my favorite Billie recordings. And let me just say, it was not easy choosing which ones of her songs to cover. There's so many, but budget will dictate that.
Sure, you got 13. That's a nice
great
amount.
Thank you. And so I Cover the Waterfront talks about, he's gone away. I'm waiting on the waterfront. Will he come back? And why asks the question, why did you leave in the first place? So that kind of digs a little deeper again into a song that Billie recorded. And then the covers that I've done, God Bless the Child, Them Their Eyes, you mentioned, Sophisticated Lady, Do Nothing Till You Hear From Me. But I have to say, Sophisticated Lady makes sense. On the surface, it's Billie, Sophisticated Lady, that song by Duke Ellington. But it is a very sad song, Sophisticated Lady. And speaking of hip-hop, I did that song on top of a hip-hop beat. Again, that's why this is the unusual tribute to Billie Holiday. So Sophisticated Lady is absolutely unrecognizable from Duke Ellington's beautiful composition, and it was intentional to make this song to make it feel sadder. The hip-hop producer is Iranian, and it has this Iranian or sort of this meditative moan on it. Oh, it just goes throughout the song like that. And I just wanted to emphasize that this sophisticated lady is really home sad, and that moan just really emphasizes it. So those are the things that take place in this album. I will finally say that, the stories are a little too long, but had this album been made in 2015, I wouldn't have the great maestro Ron Carter on this album. 4 of the tracks were recorded at the iconic Rudy Van Gelder studio in New Jersey. That's where John Coltrane recorded A Love Supreme. Miles Davis recorded A Kind of Blue, and I recorded in that studio. It's crazy.
That is awesome. I'm noticing was one of them recorded live at Blues Alley?
Ah, yes.
You got to get the local.
Yes. Thank you. So around 2016, again, maybe this is when the idea for the album shifted. Instead of an album full of cover songs. That was the time when Trayvon Martin, Sandra Bland, Castile, Fernando Castile, all of these murders were taking place. And I came up with this chorus, or it inspired, or it came to me, this chorus, helped me soften my hardened heart, as I needed some kind of relief from what I was feeling. And so at Blues Alley, my concert there in 2015, I didn't have a full song. I just had that chorus, and band behind me, I just sung it a cappella and asked the audience to sing it along with me. I actually passed out the lyrics. They were sitting there when people arrived, and I asked them to sing it along with me, and that recording is on this album.
Oh, that's awesome.
With everyone singing along, heart and heart.
Oh.
Yeah, asking for relief from, that tragic time.
You talk about the performance venues in D.C. and the fact that perhaps because you hadn't been as involved in gigging and being a part of this recording scene, that that may account for perhaps why, in terms of that, not just the following, but in terms of people knowing more about you.
Yes.
That may just be the case. I of course try to support local artists as much as possible,
Thank you.
because I think it's really critical to go to those local shows. In fact, I saw you at this Italian restaurant in Tacoma. So I keep bringing you back to way
Yes,
back.
you do.
The restaurant was in Tacoma
Was
Park.
it Republic?
Yeah, I believe it was across from House of Musical Traditions. It was over the across from the, I think it's David's, the little, right on Tacoma Park on a little main drag, across from David's Kitchen, where they had, I think it was an Italian restaurant. I think that's Republic.
Okay.
Yeah, I saw you and Lincoln and
Yeah.
a few other folks. So how often do you participate in the local performances here? And what do you think about the local scene? And we only have about 3 minutes.
Okay. I think the local scene is vibrant. On Facebook, I created a group years ago called Jazz in DC. You can follow that or subscribe to that group, Jazz in DC. There's a picture of a black man with like a hat, what's the French beret on and dark glasses. That's the famous Lawrence Wheatley from the One Step Down, to show this is DC jazz history. And it allows for musicians to post their gigs. So that shows me, when I look at that, it's everywhere in our region, not only in the city, but Maryland and Virginia. It is rampant. And I love the the jazz preservation gig that happens every Friday at Westminster
Oh, I
Presbyterian
love
Church.
that. I love that place.
And not only are you getting world class jazz, but they are clearly on a mission to preserve jazz,
Yeah.
and so that makes it a little different, I think.
Let me stop you right there.
Sure.
'Cause, those of you who don't know about Westminster, I had friends come from New York and they wanted to go someplace. I took them to this sedity little jazz place.
Yeah.
You know, it was very sterile and it was good standard jazz, and they performed quite well, probably to the letter and to the note. But afterwards the person said, you know, I really wanted to hear some down home jazz, like when we were talking about the improvisation and all of that. I wanted to hear some really. So from then on, when folks come to visit from New York or anywhere else, I take them over to Westminster.
Mm-hmm.
I never get a complaint.
You get a
And
good church dinner.
You get a really good dinner, a really, really, really good dinner.
Yeah.
You know, for some folks, you have to go real early because, you know, they're very, very popular over there. But
Yeah.
you get really good food. But more importantly, you get great jazz in the midst of enthusiasts and a community of love.
Yeah. I couldn't have
You
said
know,
it better.
That's what I think you get. So I couldn't believe the reason I stopped you, really, because I know you can go on and on. And I didn't want you to forget or not have an opportunity to say what I may have missed. You know, we actually end in like about 2 or 3 minutes.
Okay.
And so I really wanted to say that little piece. Go to Westminster. What's that, on 4th
And it is
and
on-
I Street?
Yes. Southwest.
Southwest in D.C. Just look up Westminster, and every Friday night. And
6 p.m., but get there at 5.
I think it may have gone up to $10. It was $5 for a million
$5
years.
for about 15 years. Yeah.
Yes. So
World class
go and
jazz
do that.
for
All right.
$10.
Now we have 2 minutes, 3 minutes left. I want to give you an opportunity to talk about anything that I forgot to talk about or what you need to say.
I do want to kind of stay on your last question. I do not perform that often. I did just curate a jazz conversation and listening series. You can follow me on social media and my website to see what's next. I've got a really slick one
What's your
coming
website?
up. Sure, it's like the jazz standard When Sunny Gets Blue. So when WHEN Sunny SUNNY gets GETS and blue like the color BLUE. WhenSunnyGetsBlue.com, and I'm on Instagram. You can find just search for Changamire Jazz. I don't perform that often. I'm doing this listening series, and it's just been wonderful. I'd love to see you there. It's still an engaging experience, and you hear music from Seeking Billy. I am planning the album release concert. Has not happened yet, and I tend to produce my own shows, so hopefully December that'll be happening. So through my website, join my email list, and you'll always hear about all of this. Yes, the album Seeking Billy, the unusual tribute to Billie Holiday.
How can I get that?
You can get that on any streaming platform. All streaming platforms, you can hear it. But I also have the vinyl, and you can, for the first time, pressed vinyl. I'm excited. I wanted to lean into the nostalgia of Billie Holiday, so you can get the vinyl through my website. I'll ship it anywhere in the world to you, and hope you love the whole visual package we put together for that. And I think that's everything.
That's everything. Well, let you have parting words for our listeners,
Oh my
because
goodness.
we are there.
Okay. This just means the world to me. WOL, the history, H Street, knowing what's been happening on H Street recently. It's more than an honor to be here on WOL, Kathy Hughes. You know, DC is my home. DC till I die. And thank you, Pat, so much. Thank you, listeners. so much for embracing a homegrown.
All right. Well, Albertina, you want to say goodbye?
Yes, it was good for you to listen and learn something about Sonic Records and Changamiré. But goodbye.
We end the show as we begin the show, thanking you, the listening audience, for tuning in. We so appreciate you. I'd like to thank our engineer, Alonzo Changamiré. We thank you for being here. Go to all the places that she told you about. And I'm Pat Thornton signing off, wishing all of you a very blessed week. Ciao.
Get the jam.